What is up, guys? Welcome to another live session. Today is December 11th, 2019, and we're back at again on the charts, and we finally got some movement in our way. It was actually on a pair we didn't even analyze together. I just spent some time last night, and I found the setup, and I'm like, we have to enter this. And it's Euro Aussie. The signal was called, I think, a little bit later in the day, but very simple, very consistent with our setups, and it all starts with this blue resistance region right here on the 4-hour time frame, and you can see dating back to November 19th, we came up to this area, and then we had a couple instances to go higher in the later parts of November, and then we had one more attempt at the end of November on the 29th. And then yesterday we made a little quick touch at that resistance region, and that was more than enough confirmation for me to go lower. And especially the 4-hour candle, this 4-hour candle right here is what I like to call a teardrop candle because it looks like a teardrop, and that was confirmation of us going lower. And so our final target was actually somewhere around here. 1.62130, which is like a kind of an intraday level, as you can see between all these supports. I just want to target that level because there's a lot of news today, and I just don't want to take any risks. Also, tomorrow is a major day, but we smashed that target, and we're going to our secondary level. And so this is where when you do these live sessions and you take my signals. When I tell you guys to plot the signal, it'll take 2 minutes. Just take the time to plot the signal, and you use what I teach you, and you could have very well grabbed this other portion of the move. You could have seen it because you could have intuitively thought, hey, this is the first support right here. If we do break it, we're more likely to go down to this next support, because in the past, when we broke this level, we went to this level. When we broke it again, we went here. When we broke it again, we went here. And as right now, we're seeing that we smashed that level, and I'm pretty much confident that we'll be at 1.61570 by the end of the day, or at least by the end of the week if it wants to consolidate. But that's the whole process of the trading room, is to kind of fast track that journey of theme with our trades. And we'll talk about this later in the session. Is that when we find our trade setups, 80% of the time it's very little drawdown, and those 80% of the time we usually either close in profit, either TP1 or all the way to TP3 or 4. And in today's live session, at the end I'm going to talk about how do you know when to get out of a trade, and I'll use the gold trade we entered / analyzed yesterday as an example, because I think that's the perfect example for this video. So stay tuned for the end of the session for that. But Euro Aussie done and dusted. If you were in a position to get the rest of this move, go ahead. Make sure you have your stops at entry. I do want to take a quick peek at the fundamental schedule and talk about what happened in the morning today. So I let you guys know that today at 9:30 a.m. we're gonna have some CPI data for the dollar, and basically the CPI data is basically the cost people pay for goods and services. And usually, the actual being greater than the forecast is good for the currency, as the CPI is one of the core indicators of inflation. And usually, inflation, a good amount of inflation is necessary and indicative of a fluid and vibrant economy, right? And this is why countries and nations cut rates so that they could encourage spending and loan taking. So this is pretty good for the dollar. It came out at 0.3%, so just 0.1% higher than the forecast. And we do have at 3 o'clock the FOMC economic projections and FOMC statement and the federal funds rate. So for about 30 minutes, you're going to have Powell talk about what their decision is about the rate. And then from 3:30 to I believe 3 o'clock, Powell will talk about just what they think about the economy so far and their overall thoughts. So from 3 to 4 is gonna be a pretty dangerous time, and that may be exaggerated, but it depends on what they say. I've been pretty spot on with these kind of projections and predictions with at least with the U.S. economy. But I remember last time when they did the Fed rate cut, we predicted in the right way, or in the correct sentiment. And I believe today's sentiment is going to be pretty bullish for the dollar, because if you look at this month's NFP, the U.S. economy was able to add 266,000 jobs, and that dropped unemployment to a 50-year low. So that's definitely going to be talked about in today's speech by Powell. And with the CPI coming out better than expected, so inflation is coming around. So that's going to be also something that's going to be talked about. And it's holiday season, so consumers will be spending a lot more. And so what we might have is that increase in spending transfer over to January. So I'm personally bullish on the dollar, but it could, they could very well talk about stuff that's behind the scenes. So that's why we'll hold on to our USDCHF trade and our CADCHF trade and see where it goes. Tomorrow is pretty intense, so I really don't want to be in any trades. So hopefully USD and CADCHF are done with by 3 a.m. Later in London today, because we do have the Swiss monetary policy assessment. So obviously that's going to be major. And then we have the UK elections all day, the Swiss press conference, and then we have the Euro ECB statement and their rates. So it's going to be a major day for the Swiss and the Euro tomorrow, within around 14 hours. So we're kind of on a shot clock here. But thankfully EURAUD gave us some quick profits, and we were able to secure something for the week. Hopefully by London session, or even maybe the end of Australian, we're out of these trades, and then we're just spectating at that point. And then tomorrow morning we'll talk about all this that happened during a live session. And then Friday it just has some US retail sales, and that's about it. So keep this in mind. Just be safe. And so Euro Aussie's done. Let's talk about USDCHF, which is one of the trades we analyzed yesterday for a long. And this starts on the daily time frame, but even on the 4-hour time frame, you can see USDCHF respect levels pretty well. It respects this blue resistance region most of the time, right? Whenever you get a rejection from this region, you're most likely going lower. We didn't get a rejection here, so we went higher. But we got a rejection here, we went lower. We got a rejection here, we went lower, etc., etc., and etc. So currently we are up around 10 pips for our USDCHF trade for going long. And it's just based off of 4-hour support. This level right here is 0.98500. You can see an instance of a bounce, a rally from here, a rally from here, a rally from here. And I was just looking for a bullish sentiment or candle from this level, and we did get that. The 4-hour candle was a bit more bullish right before the start of the session, but we'll see how it goes. Because it's USDCHF, it doesn't move as much per pip, and so our stop loss is pretty tight, but our take profits will be a lot smaller, just because, for example, to illustrate this, a move from here to here is only 28 pips. And on other charts on the 4-hour time frame, on other pairs like euro, pound, yen, a move this large would be 40, 50, 60 pips even. So you'd have to take into account, if you're wondering why the stop losses are so small compared to other pairs, it's just because if you look at the price value, it's close to 1. So it only moves 1 price index per pip. So that's the reason for it, and we'll hold this trade out because our stop loss is, I think, 30 pips, so it's not going to hurt us. And if we do dip below here, I'll probably get us to close out way before the stop loss. But a pretty clean chart. Let's see how the daily looks. So the daily, you can see the daily kind of paints the picture more clearly. We just want this candle to kind of push up. If we do get that daily closure that's bullish, like in the past, we're definitely going to at least these highs right here. to have the hiccups, my bad, to get a nice amount of profit. And I think tomorrow's CHF news might be the catalyst for this move, or the antagonist, as in it drops down. But let's see how it goes. You know, the USD CPI data definitely helps this trade. So that's one trade we're in, and the other one is CADCHF. And so similar story for CADCHF, but it's actually doing a bit better, and that's fine with us. We're actually up around just shy of, I want to guesstimate here, 24 pips. Score 4 hours. So the entry was after this bounce. You can see we had a nice bullish engulfing candle right here. You can see this bullish engulfing, very little wick to the top, and that was our entry criteria, like I said. And we're currently up around 25 pips, depending on your spread, but I'm at 16 pips. But we're gonna ride this. This looks a lot more promising, but hopefully USD CHF follows suit. And these arrows were just there to show you how to choose your stop loss. And so there is a secondary support here, and in case CADCHF wanted to be annoying and come down here, our stop loss is a bit exaggerated to give breathing room for that move. So CADCHF, let's go to the daily, just so you guys can get a clear idea of where we're looking to go. And the daily candle is pretty nice. It's a bullish engulfing right now, and so we're trying to go to 0.75600. And like I said, a move from here to there is only 80 pips. For other pairs on a daily time frame, this move might be 200 and even 300 pips. But we're taking what the market gives us, and this is basically the last week we'll have quote unquote normal market conditions to trade. So let's not get greedy, but CADCHF looking good. Another trade that stopped me out on which we took on Monday was EURAUD. So we had a long idea for EURAUD, and we were up here during yesterday's session. I was pretty confident we'd go to our final take profit, but then it turned against us, and I got stopped out. It's okay, it happens, I guess. But the idea was kind of there, I guess. It is coming back that way, but you can just probably credit it to the CPI data that pulled it back down. With that being said, I do want to answer some questions on the chat, in case I missed any yesterday. We had a problem with our stream, but we fixed it all, and you can view the past 2 days sessions right here. Just refresh this. And then I do want to talk about crude oil, because we did analyze that. We had a potential long which did not get activated, and I'll show you guys why it did not. And then we'll talk about how do you know when to get out of a trade using gold as an example. So come on, Firefox, come on. But happy holidays, guys. Let's look at BTC. Cool. I'll look at that for you, Jerlyn Williams. What's up, Igor? Yeah, happy holidays, guys. For some of you that your holidays have started, happy holidays. Enjoy your time off with your family. But let's look at Bitcoin. There's also this crypto called Tezos. A really good friend of mine told me about it. You guys should definitely look into that. But Bitcoin, ooh, nice. This is nice. I like this. Cool. So, if you guys follow us on TradingView, Forex Lens, I published an idea yesterday. This is where you can see the trend line of the short. So what Bitcoin did on the daily time frame was break a trend line, right? We had a 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, and an official break. And as you can see by this arrow, basically I'm saying if we get a break outside this trend line and a close below hourly support at 7,211, we're going to our target of 6,000 most likely. That for our time frame does it justice for that level. So you can see this 7,200 area has been a nice kind of support since this first pullback. You can see support here, and so 6,000 is still the final target, and it looks pretty good because Bitcoin had a chance to rally from 7,500 when it broke it and came back. It had a chance to rally, once, twice, and another time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attempts to make a rally above to maybe 8,700. It just couldn't do that. So a lot of sellers are here. If you look, so if you look at this recent push, which we caught, you can see a lot of big bearish candles, and then you had a lot of bullish candles come in, right? Big bullish candles. A lot of buyers came in, kind of the last attempt to go higher. And then since this last, since this failed attempt, you can see these fat bearish candles come in. You can see the smaller bulls. One last attempt by the bulls, and the fat bearish candles came in. Then we have smaller bullish candles, and so it's looking like sellers are coming in. What I want right now is just a nice fat bearish candle to kind of do that last knockout, to kind of just confirm that we're going lower. And based on our price action strategy, our overall target is 6,000, a nice psychological level. We do want to target a level on the way there or halfway there, and the most obvious of levels would be somewhere here, right? We can see price went out of its way to wick here. This is where our sell-off stopped and stalled. Another attempt, it closed back up, and then price went out of its way to wick here. So 6,844. Apologize for that. Would probably be a nice target. Another target would maybe be 6,500, which is somewhere down here where this wick came. Both levels are pretty understandable, but I think just to play it safe over the holidays, 6,844 would be a nice short-term target for our path to 6,000. So that's Bitcoin. Hopefully that helps. Tezos, XTC, USD. Make sure you guys look at that. Since we're on crypto, I might as well just pull up the chart. I predicted to go to $2. Let's see where it's at. So I also published this idea on our trading view. Make sure you follow us there. I publish a trade idea once a day. So yeah, give us a follow there. So this was the original idea, going to $2. And I think we went around 60% of the way there to $1.65. So yeah, if you're looking for a new crypto that has some cool things about it, check out Tezos. So I'm gonna do crude oil quickly. And on Monday's session, someone on YouTube asked me to look at oil, and I gave a potential long setup. And so the reason why this long setup was not activated was just because it did not satisfy our entry criteria, which is very simple. So during the live session, I used the horizontal rate to draw these previous highs, and that is at around 59.21 per barrel, right? And we were, let's see, Monday, right here. We are right here on the 9th. And so what had happened was, we came and formed a resistance, and I told you guys if we do get a bullish closure above this level, we're definitely going to 60.83 per barrel. I put this phone on silent and it's still going off. Okay. But what happened is, the 4-hour time frame is my favorite, but even on the 1-hour time frame, if we go the 9th, right, we were here. We wanted a closure to engulf these highs. So basically, any bullish closure that would go past these previous highs, and if you look, none of them happened, right? None of these are just wicks up, and this is why I preach do not use pending orders. If you're going to be awake, just have the charts open and set an alert on TradingView just by right-clicking and clicking adding an alert, because this way, if you had a buy stop here, you would have got taken into the trade and then stopped out ASAP. So that's just a quick update on crude oil. Now I'm going to talk about how to know when to get out of a trade. And while I do this, make sure, if you have any last minute pair recommendations, let me know. The week is kind of coming down to an end just because tomorrow is going to be really, really chaotic. And seriously can blow your accounts. No stop loss can help you because there's a thing called slippage. And basically what it is when you enter a sell, for example, let's say you enter a sell for pound dollar at a certain price point, and you set a stop loss. If price goes to your stop loss, your broker has to find a matching buy order at that stop loss. This happens usually in seconds or milliseconds, but during intense volatile situations like elections or rate decisions, because of the quickness and just the overall volume, the broker might always have time to find you that exact contract. It might be too late, and that's called slippage. And so even if you have a stop loss that's very tight, slippage could blow your account out and take you, negative 100 pips into a deficit. So please don't be a hero. We've had a good run for 2019, and I'm gonna be here for 2020, so we can pick up then. But please be a spectator tomorrow. If you want to trade, go ahead and trade on the demo, and have a laugh out of it. But it very well could be very quiet tomorrow, and nothing could happen. But you always want to be on the safe side. So let me talk about gold. So was it this one? No, we have so many. We have so many gold ideas. Okay. Let me just clean this up because I have some levels from last night's session that I want to remove from yesterday as a live example. And if you recall, on Telegram I sent out a short for gold, and it was very on par with our price action strategy. We kind of created a range between 1464 and 1459, and so we had a kind of a fake out on gold, and we had price close back below our range, and it was printing these inverted hammers suggesting that we're going to go lower. And so what had happened was that instead of going immediately lower, it did do a slight pullback, which is fine. But if you look at the candles I was printing, and if you look at the next, and we're on the hourly time frame, the next 7 or 8 candles, spinning tops, mini hammers, dojis, just no volume, just a bunch of consolidation. And if you're accustomed to our strategy and you've been with this for quite some time, usually our trades have very little drawdown, and they're usually done by a day or two, or the initial movement is considerable, right? And so this stagnation in volume and consolidation really set the alarm bells ringing in my head, and I told you guys to get out at, I think, negative 5 pips. And thank God we did, because over time, through the London session and today morning, we would have gotten stopped out, and that would have been a negative 70 pip loss. So how do you know when to get out of a trade? Part of it is on your trading strategy. So since our trading strategy is very simple, and we trade price action and we trade candlesticks, and we trade within ranges, we know that once price starts consolidating after coming back into a range and it's showing a lack of volume, especially for gold, and I've said this before, if gold tends to consolidate, it's probably going to do an impulse move in a certain direction. And we can see that happen here, a considerable impulse move when it looked like it was going lower. This is what burns a lot of newbies when they trade gold. So this goes for any pair, but gold was a trade we took yesterday, and I thought it'd be a perfect example. Another thing is just experience. Over time, when you spend time on the charts, you're going to get accustomed to knowing when to get out of a trade. It's just a kind of a second nature, a sixth sense if you have it. And that just comes with experience. You can't really cheat the system or cheat the game. Once you spend that time, over time, you're just going to realize that certain pairs have a tendency to do this, and a certain move does not look correct. You get out, and thank God we got a gold. We cut our losses short, and so that's how you know when to get out of a trade. And practicing on a demo account, if you're not on a live account, kind of this sixth sense is what's going to really improve your trading game, because you know, it's one thing to know when to enter a trade. It's another thing to know when to get out. And those are the two most important things when it comes to trade management. So that's today's session. I'm going to take a peek at the chat in case anyone has any last minute pair recommendations before I send this off. Oh yeah, so that's our trading view name right there, Forex Lens. Give us a follow, Derlin, and we'll follow you back. I think that's good for today. A nice 26-minute session, right on par. So with that being said, quick rundown. Be safe tomorrow. Don't trade if you don't have to. I'll let you guys know about CADCHF and USDCHF. And with that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern for another live session. We'll discuss the chaos that goes on tomorrow, and we'll see how we can end off the trading year. So I'm RP Forex. I'm logging off, guys. Have a great day and happy trading.